Hello, my name is Jason Uberster, and this is my episode recap for episodes 16 and 17 for Fate Stay Night's Unlimited Blade Works. Both of those are titled Winter Days, The Form Takes Wish, and The Dark Sword Bears Its Fang. And definitely, these two episodes are incredible, especially episode 17. We finally get some more action sequences, see more of the visuals for this series. Definitely more incredible visuals that pretty much trump a couple years of anime that I've watched so far. And definitely lots of complications, lots of new things to come up. Definitely Shiro and Ren's relationship is sort of growing a little bit more. We're getting a little more backstory on Shiro, a little backstory, like more of his psychology of his character. Even Archer as well, we see his psychology as well as a character. Definitely Ilya is dead, and very disturbing, I would say, ends the episode for episode 15 there with her death, and it's just her backstory, a little bit more into that as well. Nothing too complicated in terms of backstory, but definitely lots of new things in terms of the future of the series, and very curious how this is going to end. They do hint at probably Shiro and Archer, them battling it out. The opening theme suggested that Lancer and Caster are going to battle it out. I thought that would happen. I thought this battle sequence in the church would last a little bit more episodes, but it only lasted these two episodes basically, and Lancer and Caster never fought each other, and so that's just another thing in the opening theme that was sort of misleading. Again, involving Lancer once again, when Lancer is fighting Berserker, that never happened either in the first opening theme of the series, and so lots of things that never actually happened that were happening in the opening theme, but still two pretty good episodes, I would say, for 16 and 17. For episode 16, we see that Gilgamesh just rips out Ilya's heart for the vessel, probably the vessel for the Greater Grail, which would make sense because in Fate Zero, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Fate Zero, but just a quick couple minutes on this, but her mother, Iris Veal, she was the vessel for the Holy Grail. That was over purpose in all of this, and I don't know if the elders of her family in the Einsburn family had plans for Ilya to become the vessel, but they definitely had plans for them to succeed the Einsburns and have them sort of win the Holy Grail War. That didn't actually happen, but she is now used as a pawn as the whole Greater Grail thing is going to come up here. The one that Castor is trying to seek out, and it looks like Gilgamesh is trying to seek this out as well. And we get Shinji coming out as he's gloating a little bit. Oh, hey, check out my servants here, and Gilgamesh, and he does all this before Gilgamesh can actually attack Shiro, and so that's what sort of saves him a little bit here. But Rin threatens to take out Shinji before Gilgamesh and Shinji can do something to Shiro, and that's when he reconsiders his plans and possibly making Rin the next vessel, because it looks like Ilya's heart was like all messed up and weird looking as well. It looked pretty cool though, but it was very weird looking in terms of like all the purple stuff that was going around here, and so maybe Rin has some plans in Gilgamesh's mind perhaps, but definitely something to look out for in the next couple episodes. Of course, Shiro did try to save Ilya as much as possible. Of course, he couldn't do anything about it, but Rin tries to consolidate him for a little bit, but we see that he is very much determined to save as many lives as possible, no matter the cost. Doesn't really care about what his own life matters, even though he had a conversation with Rin about this previously, and we see like his eyes are in despair. He's sort of like lost, pretty much losing his will to live pretty much, and even Rin tries to ask him about the events 10 years ago. However, he claims that that wasn't really the reason. Like, he was more inspired by Kiritsugu when he was so ecstatic to find someone alive. Of course, we know the context of this in Fate Zero, the end of that, how he just wanted to find someone alive, and he found Shiro in all of this, and I guess he decided to take responsibility for the events, how he pretty much ran away in a way, just sort of forgot to save the other people, and that's sort of regrets that he has. And while Rin is still trying to convince Shiro that his way of thinking is very sick, it's very messed up, it's not really a way to live your life, but Shiro doesn't really see anything wrong with living your life for others, and he has visions of Taiga or Fujimura Sensei and Sakura. We have Shinji, or not Shinji, but his other friend Issei there, and some other friends as well. We see him visualizing, and how even Rin as well, he doesn't really mind living his life for these guys because that's sort of how he wants to live his own life. And he decides it's okay, and he gives Rin a look, and like after Rin, she's embarrassed because it's a very attractive look, I guess. I don't know, very attractive attentive to her, and so she decides to let Shiro off the hook once again. But still, we see the psychology of the character, how it is sort of messed up in a way, how he's living his life for others, and seeing their happiness makes him happy as well. Sort of reminds me of Sword Art Online, where we saw from the second half of the Sword Art Online 2 of the Mother's Rosario arc, where we do see that Asuna is a character similar to Shiro, but not in the whole crazy kind of way there, like how she is sort of living her life through others, making their happiness her own happiness. It's very different, very complicated things here. We see different characters and how they're presented as well, with Asuna on one end compared to Shiro in Fate Stay Nights, and it's very interesting to see that here. And I did like how they gave a little bit of backstory on Gilgamesh as well. It's kind of a backstory on who he is as a heroic spirit. That's what Ren and Shiro talk about in this little church complex we see here. So if everyone's now seen Phase Zero, that's sort of their backstory on who Gilgamesh is. And they also talk about his noble phantasm, how it's sort of a multiple amounts of noble phantasms. That's what he calls it in Phase Zero, the Gates of Babylon, where it's sort of a collection of multiple swords and weapons collected over the vast amount of years that he has lived, and sort of how Gilgamesh found the secret to immortality, and that's how he figures out immortality to get all these weapons all around him. And it's sort of explaining why he has multiple noble phantasms and how it's going to be very difficult to take care of this character. But that's when Lancer jumps into this conversation, and he asks for an alliance between Rin and Shiro, and we see that Rin and Shiro sort of argue about who's going to run away and who's going to fight him, and they go back and forth on that a little bit. So they sort of bicker like a couple, a married couple. That's what sort of Lancer sees there, and he asks for an alliance once again because his master said so. He did refer to his master as a she, so we don't know who his master is, and I guess there was no even bother any situation about that, because Shiro, they only agreed to the alliance for only one condition: if Lancer would stop flirting with Red. He didn't really care about who his master was, which would have been cool information to see there, because we only see Lancer running around everywhere, sort of taking orders from his master, as he does say, but we don't really actually see who his master is. We see Lancer is sort of making his moves on Rin, and so Shiro tries to defend her, saying that, hey, she's mine, and that's when Rin goes on full tsundere mode, where she's embarrassed, and how, oh no, we're just friends, we're not in love or anything, we're not a couple, but Shiro just stands firm, doesn't really say anything, and again, Rin goes full tsundere mode in this little end of the conversation here. We jump into Archer talking to Kuzuki, learning about him a little bit more on why Kuzuki is sort of teaming up with Caster, what's his desires in the Holy Grail War. Does he have a wish that he wants to sort of grant? Why was he chosen as the master for Caster? That rhymes, but still, why was he chosen for the Holy Grail War? And Kuzuki just talks about how he wants to help Caster sort of find her freedom. That's something that she desires her whole entire life. Some sort of release of her chains, if you will. We see her in a regular costume without the hood on, and just a normal girl looking out on the beach, looking for some freedom in her life, and that's what Kuzuki is striving for himself. So again, sort of a person living for another person here. So that's a pretty interesting contrast that we see here of Kuzuki and Shiro. Sort of the same ideologies, but still going through them very differently. It's very interesting stuff there. So episode 16 ends with Rin's plan for Lancer to take on Archer first, but possibly Saber as well, and possibly some other servants. Maybe not Assassin, because he's sort of stuck at Ryoto Temple because of his limitations as a servant, while Rin and Shiro are going to take care of Caster and probably Kuzuki as well. And so that's where episode 16 ends, with the final confrontation between Lancer and Archer, but no action sequences here, just more build-up of what's going to happen in episode 17. And so for a rating, I'm probably going to give episode 16 a 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. Again, just more backstory here. If you watch Fate Zero, you kind of already know some of his backstory already. Pretty cool how we're seeing more of Lancer, and just sort of his involvement with the group. It would be the next logical explanation of who they're going to team up with after Ilya and Berserker. It would be Lancer. Very disappointed we don't get to see his master. I don't think she's ever, or whoever his master is ever really mentioned too much in the Fate Stay Night sort of universe or lore. But still been pretty cool. I mean, they've been dabbling a little bit outside a visual novel, so I thought they could do the same here for a Lancer, but they're not really jumping too much onto that for outside of visual novels, and so I thought it was still a pretty good episode for me, visually, of course, as usual, and so content-wise, some pretty cool backstory stuff here, and more character ideologies as well, but still, nothing really too much that this episode really gave. Moving on to episode 17, we have Caster pretty much asking Kuzuki what his true objective was. That's sort of why he stayed behind in the church instead of going back to Ryodo Temple. And again, he talks about how he really never really lived as a human being before. You know, he sort of lived for other people's orders. He just lives like a soulless being, essentially, and how he wants to return Caster to a rightful place. So again, he's explained to Caster what he explained to Archer before in the last episode, essentially, and so this is when Rin and Shiro make their way to Caster and Kuzuki in like the huge church place there, where Rin sort of talking smack against Caster, calling her old and whatnot there, and so Shiro's job is to hold off Kuzuki so that Rin's plan can come into fruition. The standout of this episode, though, was the battle between Lancer and Archer. I mean, the Rin and Shiro battle against Caster and Kuzuki was pretty decent, but still, the Lancer-Archer battle was more impressive. Servant here, very well done visually. That's the most standout thing in the series. When you get the action sequences, they don't hold back in the visuals, but still, they kind of hold back in the action, though. But it's very well worth it once they get into it, and it's very fun. Lancer's not holding back this time because of his master's command seal request, and so he's going all at it. Lancer tries to defend Rin as well during this conversation, during the battle here, where he's trying to defend her honor, but Archer's not really having any of it. We even hear Lancer's real name, Kukulan, basically an Irish hero. Look him up, Wikipedia page, really quick read there. Just an Irish hero with gay bulg there. Even Lancer launches his final attack, essentially, his noble phantasm, what is called an anti-army noble phantasm against Archer, the gay bulg. He just throws his lance at Archer, and he decides to defend himself because he thought that was his best option there to defend against Gay Bulg, and he uses his chance, I am the bone of my sword, and he creates the shield with his pretty much his right arm, essentially using Ro Ayas, which is like something from the Trojan War, essentially, that defends against the attack, kind of. It just leaves Archer beaten up, and his right arm is unable to use. He's even like bent in a way as well. It's pretty weird looking there, but still, that whole battle sequence there with Archer, you see this shot of him from behind with the holding up the shield as well, really well done there. Even Lancer's just throwing that up, or him getting ready to throw Gay Bulg. Really well done scene here, really the standout of this episode. But we see that Archer's plan was already coming to fruition thanks to Lancer, Rin, and Shiro, because now Caster is no longer watching them, and so Lancer, he doesn't really care what Archer does now, because he pretty much already completed his task of taking care of Archer while Rin and Shiro do their thing, and meanwhile, they're doing their best to defend against Caster and Kuzuki. That's when Rin launches an all-out attack on Caster, so he can just sneak in on close range and just use her attacks, essentially, of physical combat against Caster. Again, pretty decent scenes here with the whole gems that Rin was using. Pretty well done, really look cool there. And again, it's simply magic battle. She's just throwing her gems, and Caster is sort of picking out Rin little by little because she is in a higher class than her, which makes sense. I mean, she has all that mana power for herself compared to Rin, but still, you saw her magic circuits light up as she was going at her attacks. That was a really cool thing there. See those magic circuits light up there, her going at it with all of her spells, and pretty good voice acting as well, because there's pretty long, complicated spells in there, and so I couldn't really imagine that doing that in the voice booth. So really good voice acting there for whoever the voice actress is for Rin. But again, Rin launches a sneak attack. She's pretty much doing really good damage on Caster, but before she can deliver the final blow, that's when Kuzuki comes in before Rin can land the final blow. But before Caster can try to wake up Saber for reinforcements, Archer comes in and he pretty much launches an attack to try to kill Kuzuki, but Caster jumps in to save him. And the pretty interesting thing there was like Archer pretty much says trace on. And so what does that mean? You know, why does he say trace on like Shiro does? That's going going to be a very key thing there. I won't say too much on that there because I watched the original Fate Stay Nights. I know a little bit about the visual novels as well, so I won't spoil too much why Archer says Trace on, but still, that's a pretty significant thing there. Even Shiro makes a significant point about that as well, so that's pretty cool thing there, I would say. So as Caster dies, as Caster pretty much tells Kuzuki that, you know, her wish was actually finally granted because of him, how he gave her attention, was pretty much nice to her, essentially, compared to her old master. So again, the backstory between Caster finally makes sense, and why this sort of departure is sort of sad for the characters here. And so that all makes sense with Kuzuki treating Caster, trying to get her freedom. And so she pretty much got what she wanted, though she had to pay a price for that. But still, Kuzuki makes one last effort against Archer. Of course, he didn't really have any magic or any protection behind him, so he was going to be easily defeated by Archer. Even like the building crashes on him, but it's a pretty crazy way to die out there. But still, he pretty much died out, seeing things to the way it ended. You know, he started this Holy Grail War, he's going to end the Holy Grail War in his own terms, and that's sort of how he did it. Pretty, I guess, anticlimactic ending, but still sort of the ending you would kind of expect for this character here with Caster especially. And then finally, the episode 17 ends with Archer pretty much setting his sights for Saber. Saber manages to jump out of the way, even though she's sort of fatigued after being under control of Caster there. And so Rin, she tries to stop Archer, but still Rin's not a master anymore. Archer is no longer anyone's servant, so he's pretty much going rogue. He launches a bunch of swords to not kill Rin, but sort of hold her back so that she can't stop him. And so you have pretty much a weird out Saber, Shiro, who is pretty much out of mana, doesn't look like he can create any more swords, and now Archer is also angry over being, you know, he was demoted, I guess, to a guardian, as I don't know what that means, but still we're going to find out what that means, and sort of why Archer has some sort of, I don't know about hates, but maybe just sort of grimace against the humanity, and especially Shiro as well. And so Shiro and Saber are going to have to do their best against Archer. We're going to see what happens, because I think we're a little bit overdue for some more Saber. It's been a while since the last episode of the first season of Fate Stay Night, so it's been a while since we've seen anything from Saber, but still, looks like we might get it, perhaps. I don't know, she's in that dress, and she's also very much weared out from being a slave to Caster, so we're going to have to wait and see on that, whether we'll see any more active sequences from Saber. But still, I thought this episode was pretty good, and I would rate it a 8.5 out of 10. Really like this episode. The Rin Caster thing was quite okay. I mean, they had some pretty decent moments there, and even the Kuzuki Shiro thing wasn't really much of a big deal as well, so that's kind of disappointing there. But still, the big standouts was the Lancer and Archer battle there, and so that's pretty cool. Definitely the cliffhanger thing there is sort of like demoralizing. It's like, oh, come on, I want to see more of what happens next, but that's sort of how the series goes here. So hopefully we get something good in the next episode, or some more Saber moments, because again, this series is so far, season 2 at least, has been very Saber light, and hopefully we'll get a lot more of her. The opening theme does suggest we'll get more of her. Really curious on Assassin as well, whether he'll still be around and how much we'll see of him, and even Lancer, who's now rogue again. I don't know what Lancer's gonna do, and still Gilgamesh, maybe he'll pop up in the next episode perhaps, but we'll have to wait and see until episode 18. But don't forget to put your thoughts and opinions on these 2 episodes in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, favorites, do all that stuff there. Follow me on Twitter at @JUmberSerts. Really helps me out there. But still, that is it for my episode recap for episodes 16 and 17 of Fate Stay Nights, Unlimited Blade Works, Winter Days, The Form Takes Wish, and The Dark Sword Bears Its Fangs. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Bye-bye.